Hi, I'm Rebecca Woodson, and this week we read A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare, and I actually really enjoyed the play. It had a couple memorable things for me. One of the hardest parts, actually, while reading it, was understanding who was in love with who and what the magic potion had done. It was just sort of confusing to follow. I assumed that if I were to see the play, it would make more sense because I'd be able to see the characters, recognize who they were, understand what the love potion actually did to them. I also found it interesting when Titania fell in love with the donkey head, and it was interesting because the other parts of the play, they weren't necessarily real life, but that was very fantasy, falling in love with something that had an animal head. So there were a couple points of tension throughout this play. One of the overarching points of tension was the idea of true love versus forced love. And this was really driven by, in the beginning, Hermia, where she loved Lysander. However, her father really insisted that she wanted to marry and she should be with Demetrius. And so that really just was a point of conflict as well, because you don't know if you should follow what you think or what your father has set out for you. And so that was a point of tension which really drove the entire play. And it also came up with the idea of being in love with someone due to actual feelings or due to the love potion that Puck had accidentally put on the wrong people. Another point of tension has to actually do with Puck, with the idea of communication, because Oberyn told him to go to the Athenian and give him the potion, and so that he would fall in love. However, Puck gave it to the wrong person, and so that's just a point where miscommunication caused this entire series of events to happen. The other point of tension that I noticed was the idea of fantasy versus real life. Titania was the queen of the fairies, which is very fantasy compared to real life, where the other members of the play were Athenians. So in this play, there was a play within the play, and it was put on by actors who were not very good. They were disorganized and they just didn't put on a good performance. And so the idea of this was actually to be a symbol and mirror the actual play, A Midsummer Night's Dream, because there was so much confusion between who loved who. It was very disorganized, and with the factors of who people actually loved and who they had been forced to love, such as the point of tension that I had spoken of earlier. And in the play, also, gender was it was different than many of the plays that we think of today, because in Shakespeare's time, men would be the only ones that acted in plays, not women. So this made it seem as though gender was not super important in the play, and that it wasn't a big deal, and that also had to do with the fairies because they were not shown by gender. So yeah, I really enjoyed the play. Thanks.